What's good, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Star Chasers Girls Talk Ball. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. Appreciate everybody coming back to see how we doing, checking in with Cowboys Nation. As always, it's your girl Cravin Cowboys, and as always, I got my sis Stargazer Sports in the building. How you doing tonight, sis?
What's up? What's up, everybody? Glad to be here for another episode of Star Chasers Girls Talk Ball. You know, it's always great when me and my girl Mickey get together for some great content. But y'all know before we get started to please like the video on both of our channels. I posted it. I'm not on Twitter today. I think I'm gonna start doing every other week now, posting on Twitter and YouTube, just so that I can. People just won't be lurking on my content on Twitter and not coming to YouTube. So,
right, and not giving credit. Facts, sis.
Exactly.
Because you be putting a lot of stuff out there, sis, that I see people taking credit for. And it's
exactly. So
crazy.
I'm going to just try to balance it. But appreciate everybody being in the chat with us. John Jones, Dagon's Filthy. I know more people will be coming in. But y'all know to like the video, share the content, and please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stargazer Sports is mine, and Cravin Cowboys without the G is Mickey. So really appreciate y'all rocking with us tonight.
Yes, facts on everything Star said. Please make sure you guys show love and make sure you like the video, because like she said, it kind of puts our videos out there into the YouTube world. You know, hopefully, you know, get hooked on the algorithm and really gets it out to you know, I mean, it's off season, but as you know, Cowboys news has really been flowing and going. But you know, and great news this off season. It's been a really great off season. Even Schotty said he thinks the team has had an excellent off season up to this point. So a lot of people are really engaged, really excited about what the Cowboys could possibly bring to the 2025 season. So yeah, make sure you guys just throw us some love. You know, even if at the very least just like the video and just kind of help us out. And as we kind of jump into the show, you know, we are going to be talking about, as I mentioned, Schotty and his press conference, of course, mandatory minicamp this week with the guys these next 3 days. Yesterday and then of course today and tomorrow. They said they're going to be doing the walkthrough tomorrow. So the first couple of days of practice, you know, these guys, they said they kind of ramping up this week. You know, we've heard about the connection with Dak and Pickens really ramping up. I definitely happy to see that. That's definitely one of the great nuggets coming out of minicamp. And you know, we kind of heard about it with OTAs, but just seeing that, you know, I think it was a couple of days last week, or maybe just one day that CD took off. They said that it wasn't necessarily, Schotty didn't really go into detail about what it was. He just said just something that kind of happens this time of year. So, you know, hopefully it's nothing serious, you know, maybe just taking a rest day. I mean, There's really nothing wrong with that, and especially with all the guys in the wide receiver room. CD could stand to take a rest day or two. So definitely
Oh,
happy to see
absolutely.
Pickens. Yeah, definitely just happy to see the strength of the relationship, not just on the field, but also growing off the field. We've seen just as of recent, some of the player interviews came out. I think as of an hour ago, when Pickens was saying that the relationship with him and Dak is really growing. Sis, what's your thoughts on that? Of course, us having another option in the wide receiver room, another option on the field. Another player that can lead and kind of take charge on and say, hey, welcome to the team. What's your thoughts on how this could possibly impact Dak and also the team going forward?
Yeah, I think that and first of all, shout out to Lee and Kelvin. Glad to see you guys.
Yeah.
But I think that um, as far as CD, so they said CD was sitting out yesterday.
No, I think it was last week. There was a day that CD wasn't participating, so they said that
Oh,
Pickens was
okay.
a little bit more active on the field.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely seems like I think that probably was just like a bet day or whatever, which is good. I mean, we're in OTA, so you
Yeah.
can't really do contact, but the players, can definitely still get hurt because I mean, you come down wrong or whatever, like it's still a
Yeah.
chance to get hurt because there's been people who I've seen reports of players who done hurt themselves and they're already out for the season just from being at OTAs and then now minicamp. So I think Schotty, one thing I will commend Mike McCarthy for, will give him some class, is that he
Yeah.
was one of the best coaches ever, coaching and managing injuries and stuff like that, and preventing player injuries. So I really hope that Schotty is able to keep that up as far as like maintaining, weathering the storm through injury, but also um, being able to maintain a healthy roster despite last year, which was it just wasn't our year last year. But anyway, but I think that when it comes to Dak's connection picking up with Pickens, I mean, this is what you want to see, and this is why it's important that you have your players here early, that you have your players in the building, start of OTA, start of minicamp. And I think Schotty said yesterday that sis, can you turn the music down just a little bit?
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah, but I think Schotty said yesterday as well. Yeah, that's good. That they had perfect attendance. Yeah, because yesterday was Tuesday. Yeah, so they had perfect attendance. I'm pretty sure they had perfect attendance again. And then you just see players who started off on the cores at OTAs, like at least they're getting worked into like individual drills, like Sam Williams, as well as like Donovan Wilson and stuff like that. So I'm really glad to see, these players be able to get back worked in. But I am also glad to see that the connection with Dak and Pickens is picking up, because this is a connection that we need. You know what I'm saying? Like, we brought Pickens here to make a difference. We brought Pickens here to help take pressure off of CD. And the only way that's going to happen is if Dak and Pickens have that connection, to where Dak feels comfortable going to CD or Pickens. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I feel like Dak has not really felt comfortable in his second option since 2021. I think it was probably the last time Dak felt comfortable with his second and third option. But ever since then, I don't think Dak has felt that comfortable. With his second option. Even in 2023, when Dak had MVP season, it was pretty much CD, a little bit of Brandon Cooks, a little bit of Ferg, but it was still
Yeah.
CD overwhelmingly. So it's been a while since Dak has ever even had another wide receiver be close, like one that goes over 1,000 and one get close to that. I think the last time that happened was 2021. And I think the last time he had 2,000-yard receivers was probably like 2018 or 2019. So it has been a while. It
Yeah.
has been a long while since Dak has really had a number one and number two wide receiver that was actually producing at that level, like we see the other wide receiver 1 and 2 or 1A and 1Bs producing around the league. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's great.
And even to your point, just about Jake Ferguson, we kind of looked at him as being a number two option on the field, but even he spoke to a little bit not having a touchdown at all in 2024 is for him, he says unheard of in his career, right? So it's
Yeah,
just like,
it was bad, and I'm glad he acknowledged it. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
people think like with Ferg, it's like, listen, I'm not against Ferg, but I didn't like what I saw from Ferg last year. Um, I don't know what was going on with him. I don't really do the injury excuse because it's like no one else gets that excuse, you know.
Yeah,
So, and I can give you an excuse for like the first couple games coming back from injury, but bro, you only missed like 2 or 3 games. Like you was active the whole year.
right.
Um, and yeah, he put a sour taste in my mouth because we were expecting so much from him. A lot of people were saying that it didn't matter about Brandon Cooks, because Ferg was going to be our number 2 option, and then it'll be anybody else. And Ferg just greatly disappointed. And so and it just started from OTAs until now. I hadn't heard anything about Ferg. I had not heard anything positive, like, oh, Ferg is going off, oh, Ferg had this play, or I hadn't heard a peep about Ferg. I heard about Brevin Span 4, but I didn't hear anything about Ferg until today. And it is ironic how the day after or the day of, I think TP, shout out to Terrence Parsons, Michael Parsons' brother, he had posted it because Bobby Bell. Let me see if I can pull it up on my thing. But Bobby Bell was given like a report of the. Oh my god, I'm not logged in. Never mind. Whatever. I don't feel like logging into my Twitter, but let me see if I can do it. But Bobby Bell was saying basically that Ferg was not getting run with with the first team. He wasn't getting run with the second team. He was saying that it was Brevin Span 4 running with the ones, and then when they were doing 2 tight ends, it was Brevin Span 4 and Luke Schoonmaker. And that was just Monday. So now today I heard that he looked good. He had like some touchdown passes, and he also only ran with the ones. I heard that today, but I'm like, bro, we've been back for like 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm just now hearing. So I think with Ferg, he probably was hearing or seeing clearly, like these guys are beating you out. You know what I'm saying? So far, not saying they're TE1 or all the time, but I'm just saying, like, if we're going just day by day, not by tenure, but if we're just going day by day performance, it was seeming like the younger tight ends were beating him out so far. So
No, that's a great point. Since I think I was listening to the Cowboys break today. Shout out to Box Lombardi. I think Ambar Garcia.
yes,
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I forget the other. I think Derek on there. The other reporters on there, but they were also talking about how Brevin Spanford was running with the ones, and they were kind of wondering, does it have anything, to do with Brian Broaddus. I'm sorry. Yeah, of course, Brian Broaddus. My bad, because he was actually speaking to the point of that, in his opinion, that he felt it was more to do with them trying to see it, because last year Mike McCarthy, gave Brevin Spanford some chances in some games. We saw him go to him, on some, maybe what we thought shouldn't have been, I believe on some third downs. I think even the fourth down attempt, he tried to go to him. I believe it was a 4th and 1. I believe maybe 4th and 2 to try to convert. Shout out to Lou's taking the building. Shout out to Lou.
What up, Lou? Glad to see you.
Yes, make sure you guys go to his channel, support his channel. But he was given chances by Mike McCarthy, because we know that Mike McCarthy sometimes favors the tight end position. But it was his first season. To try to accommodate, with Ferg kind of being down, and he kind of got beat up on the O line trying to help out, with blocking, and Terrence Parsons. I'm sorry, not Terrence Steele on his side. So it was just, I think, just trying to make up for that tight end position that was kind of lacking. I just think that this year they kind of give him a second chance. It's less pressure. I'm saying, they're giving more chances to guys, so it's kind of even. Even we hear some of the younger guys talking about they're getting more chances on the field. So I think that's kind of playing into what he was saying, that I think that Brevin Spanford is getting more chances to run with the first team, because they want to see how he handles this, how he handles the position of being able to possibly be inside the tight end too. We know that we have a Jake Ferguson. We know that we have a Schoonmaker and what they're capable of. But what can we get from these young guys? Because we have more young guys coming behind him. I believe I think Fairweather, as far as the undrafted guys that they brought in, but it's time to give more of these guys more running. We talked about other guys, young guys from previous regimes, and guys before who were rookies, possibly undrafted, not getting as much time on the field because of starters. But Schottenheimer kind of alluded to giving guys more chances. So I think we just seeing a little bit more chances being spread amongst these young guys, and seeing opportunities of what these guys can do. Giving guys like CD, giving guys like Jake Ferguson, vet days, if you will, just to see what we can get, from the younger guys.
Okay. Yeah, I so you're saying Brian Broaddus said that he feels like
he feels it was more about trying to elevate Brevin Span forward and what we can get out of him. Going against a first team or a
Okay,
first team
he felt
defense.
like it. Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean, they have been vocal on saying that they're switching out the personnel and different things like that.
Yeah.
They're just interchanging pieces, no, so it's a person on the second team, they might put them with the first team just to see about how they're doing and stuff like that.
Right. And
Which
he
is
also kind of spoke to the point of he's definitely comfortable run blocking, right, but we kind of got to give him more active in the pass catching game because he's saying that he doesn't look quite comfortable catching. He does, of course, he can catch the ball and do receiver type things, but it's more about getting comfortable in that, coming down, going one on one, being physical, because he already has the stature, right, but it's more about kind of just going to the next level in this game. So I think it's just more about sharpening that steel, kind of sharpening him as a player and just seeing how he goes against going against a strong defense that will probably see going against the season.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, uh-oh. Yeah, I guess that when it comes to, oh my gosh, stop touching my mic. But anyway, I hope y'all can't hear it, all that popping sound. But I think that I mean, obviously we are in OTAs, so it is something that we're in OTAs. We're in minicamp. They don't have pads on or anything like that, so we definitely, you can't put too much stock, but you also can't. It wouldn't be wise to not put any stock, but you know what I'm saying. Like you can't
Yeah.
put no positions right now are pretty, are solidified. Everybody, I think, is just taking it day by day. I do know that Brevin Spanford put in a lot of work this offseason. I don't know the work that Ferg did, but I know Brevin Spanford put in a lot of work,
Yeah.
and I know that it's been more prevalent of the work that he's done because the reporters are feeling the need to report on what he is doing.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Whether he does it at camp or in a game, this remains to be seen. I do know that if you're going off of just pure ability, he has the best ability. I mean, he's faster than Ferg, he's taller than Ferg, and
Right.
he's very athletic. So
Yeah.
even if those, like, there's times where you may have a player that's equal, but sometimes this guy's just going to beat you out because they have things that you just can't teach. You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot teach height. You cannot teach
Right.
speed and stuff like that. And so it's like,
Yeah.
if I am going to choose a person that's less fast and less, and smaller, then
Mm-hmm.
you better be that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are going to have people looking like, should we really be playing you over this guy? All in all, I just want fair competition across the board. And I don't want any fixed positions. Let these guys battle it out and let the best man win. You know what I'm saying? We're still
Yeah.
early in the competition, but I think these guys need to battle it out. I don't think any positions need to be handed out. And I think every single player on the field needs to know that they earned the spot and not that it was given. And I do mean every single player, including our leaders and our cornerstones. Now, of course, we know unless they just fall off a cliff, they're going to be starting. But still, they need to feel pressure. They need to get better. Everybody needs to be getting better. And that goes for Dak. That goes for CD. That goes for Micah. That goes for Tyler Smith. All the veteran leaders. Like, everybody needs to get better. You could always get better, regardless of what you've done in the past. You can get better. And nobody had a great season last year. Nobody had a great
Right.
season. So nobody should feel like, well, I didn't know. Did none of y'all have no great season? This was a
Right.
losing team. You know what I'm saying? And yes, some of
Mhm.
y'all might have got all pros and stuff like that. But still, everybody went down from the season that they had in 2023.
Right.
So it's all about everybody, especially like our cornerstones and stuff. Now, the young players, a lot of them elevated, but our top players, like, none of them played to the standard that they played in 2023. So it's all about just getting better. I think everybody just needs to get better, needs to work every day. Like Brian said, like Schotty said, compete every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually want to and bring up a picture I got that I seen posted last week, and I actually want your thoughts on this, is because, as we know, I know that Tyler Guyton was brought in last week. I'm sorry, last year, and as a replacement for Tyron Smith, and I like this picture that they posted. Let me share the screen right quick. And of course, as we usually share on the show, Brandon Laurie, he comes in with the great, clips, the great pictures, some of the inside don't always get to see. And I just love that. Let me see if I can. Okay, perfect. And I love that he posted this because, like I said, just in my opinion, I know that Guyton was brought in to kind of, be a replacement for Tyron Smith, but we kind of didn't get the passing of the baton, right? He didn't get to work with them. We didn't get to see them. We kind of seen it when Tyler Smith kind of came in. I know that he was kind of an emergency placement for Tyron Smith when he went down, but he kind of he got to kind of get some insight. We got to kind of be side by side with him now and know how much Guyton was able to spend, how much time they would spend with Tyron Smith because he was with another organization. I don't know if they're able to get in contact with each other, but I just love that. Of course, with Schotty creating this, the Legends community, and I love that the Cowboys included Tyron Smith in that. But I love seeing this. I love them be able to be in contact with each other, to be able to, talk with each other, like we talked about last week about these players being able to talk to these players, on an individual basis, on the personal basis, to kind of figure out maybe some ins and outs that they may not be able to learn from coaches. But what's your thoughts on this? Just because I love the kind of the transfer. I know it's kind of a year late. Tyron Smith is now now considered a Cowboy, retired. But what's your thoughts on this? I just love that. I know it's a little a year too late, but how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think that it's great. I mean, I think that Tyler Guyton is a great kid, and I think that he has tremendous work ethic. I think that was clear from his rookie year, and then coming into this year, you hear that as soon as they were able to be in the building, Tyler Guyton was the first one that was back in the building. It's clear that he's transformed his body. When you listen to his interview, took full accountability for the struggles and things that happened last year. But I never believed that Tyler Guyton was losing because he didn't care about football or he was lazy or any of that, some of that BS that people were saying. I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I think that when you're in season, like you're not being personally trained anymore. You're being coached by your offensive line coach. I think our offensive line coach was not good. Thus he is not here anymore. I think everybody took a step back under Solari. And I think that was a big contributor of why Tyler Guyton struggled. And I think that, and it wasn't all bad. He had good film. He had some okay film. He had some horrible film. You know what I'm saying? It was just a season of ups and downs. But I'm glad of the accountability that he took. And I think that he's done the work this offseason clearly, even just with just body transformation of getting better. And then, you see him being out here coached or, trained or getting tips or whatever from Tyron Smith, who is a Hall of Famer whenever he's eligible, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that's great. I think it's just about mentorship. I like that, Schotty, we talked about this last week about how he had all the legends come in and just really be around the players and be in team meetings and going over film and just personally talking to these players of technique. And, hopefully these players are getting these legends numbers, and really talking to them and seeking them out for advice, seeking them out for how can I get better, and the only way you're going to learn how to get better is by talking to the best, by talking to those who've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this is great. And I think that, I think even Micah, I think he's connected with D Ware at Zach Martin's retirement press conference. And
that's right. Great point.
D Ware has said that Micah called him every week and they talk every week and all that stuff, and not just about football, but about life and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you need. And I'm glad that players are seeking out our legends, because I think it's important. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think it's important to be connected to our legends. I think it's important to be connected to our history. I'm not going to lie and say I've always felt positive about everything the legends have said, because I haven't. I'm not going to say that I haven't gone off on the legends, because I have. But I will say that, it seems like the legends are trying to do better, because this is what I was saying. I was like, y'all got a lot of shit to say, but are y'all getting in the building?
Facts.
Are y'all trying to connect with these players? Are y'all trying to make them better? Like, because if not, then shut the hell up. That's just how I felt. Like, I felt like y'all ain't trying. But and
Right.
I know Playmaker had been in the building, but even the Playmaker had admitted, he said, I hadn't been in the building like that. I wasn't in no team meetings. So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I was
Right.
saying. I was like, yeah, they come, they take pictures and stuff, but it's like, are y'all in the building? Are y'all really connecting with these players? And maybe Mike McCarthy didn't have that open door policy that it seems like Schotty is kind of establishing.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful because I think this team they need to be surrounded by champions as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a great comment too by Chris Johnson. You can put it on the screen. He said, "Real competition is how you get the best out of them and make the players want to play harder. Harder, no gimmicks because of draft status or contract amount." Exactly. Everybody just needs to be on know that they're on the field because they earned it, not because
Right.
of their contract, not because of, like he said, contract or draft status. But I'm on the field because I earned it, and I'm on the field because as of today, I am the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's the best way, and that's how you get the most out of your players when they know that they truly competed and won the position.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, Schottenheimer even so much as said in this presser, I believe he kind of made a comment that he said, if these guys can show that they can play football without the pads, essentially without all the equipment on, you can get prepared. You focus more on your feet. Now, he said even now that they're focused more on footwork. Focus more on hand movement. You know what I'm saying? So that way, when these guys do get later in the season, when it comes to those more important, tougher, cold environment, possibly football games, these guys are already tough, mentally prepared for us. So that way, they can play physically. You know what I'm saying? And by then, they've already earned the trust of the coaching staff, earned the trust of the head coach of Schottenheimer, so that he can think back to the time in training camp. Okay, when this guy showed me this, these guys showed me during that activity when they were involved, when they were quote unquote losing, say they're losing to CD Lamb. I saw them come back a couple rounds later and say, hey coach, this is what I learned. This is what I learned. This is what I got wrong. But hey, I want to come back with this answer. I want to show you that I was listening. And maybe when I was wrong on, I'm coming back, with the correction and showing you that I want to earn your trust. I'm showing you that I want to, be able to earn the trust, and also the coaching staff. I know these guys are kind of, new, if you will, to this environment. Maybe coming from the college level or coming from other organizations, like the Bears. They had a successful defense. So that the Bears may not have a successful year, but that defense did shine through. So there are some things that this coaching staff is well aware of, that they'll be able to take and be able to judge some of these younger players, and vice versa. Like just like Chris Johnson said, it makes these players want to play harder because number one, they know that the coaches know what they're talking about. They know that they can achieve success. But it's also about both sides, contributing and making sure that they, I think we covered this last week. Michael Irvin saying about each guy making a promise to each other about doing their job on and off the field. Coaches as well. They have to come in and share the expertise as well. So it's about all guys, committing to the game of working together and being a family on and off the field.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's just important of the connection, the togetherness. I think it's all going to, pay dividends when the rubber meets the road. Basically, like when times get tough, you're going to need this brotherhood, this bonding. That's why it is important. Football is important. Connecting over football, going over the plays, all that stuff is important. But what's even more important is the bond, because that's what is going to get a player over. That's what's going to get a team over the hump. It's not
Right.
really talent. I think Playmaker said that too. He's like, everybody is talented, so it's not really talent. Like even the worst team in the NFL, the talent gap is not that huge. It really
Mm-hmm.
is the coaching gap, the organization, all of this type of
Exactly.
stuff. So you definitely, we got talent, but it's all about how we cultivating this talent. And I think there was this clip that they showed of the coaching staff on the first day of OTAs, just really just hype and stuff like that. And I'm like, dang, I ain't never seen our coaches like this for real, and
It's
that just kind of speaks to this
facts.
culture that Schotty is trying to implement. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I think I have it. I know I reposted it for sure. But yeah, it was just a clip of basically just them like running through drills, but it was
Mhm.
everybody. Like it wasn't just a certain position group or whatever. It was literally everybody on the field. Oh,
Yeah.
here it is. Let me see if I can show this video from the Dallas Cowboys Twitter. But I mean, you just see coaches like Lunda Wells, like let me show.
Yeah, I
But
saw
I'm
him
like,
stretching the Osa.
I ain't never seen Lunda Wells jumping up like this. Like,
Yeah.
but that to me, that's not even really Lunda Wells' natural personality. But this is Schotty to me because we talking about coaches. Like, this is making Schotty is like this is this is how I want my practices ran. So it's like you got Lou Wells, which is right here. Like, look
Yeah.
at Lou Wells. Like Shotty is like, let's go, baby. You know, you see all these
Yeah.
coaches. I think that's probably Andre Curtis and
Mhm.
like Shotty is like, and they doing this like they're not because I don't have a sound out because it's just overlay music, but
Yeah.
you know they really out there. I think Tolbert said today on Good Morning with Kay Adam or something, Good Up Morning America, one of them.
Mhm.
He did an interview and he was saying, you know, the difference in the practice is one of it is the music. You know what I'm saying? Like
Facts.
we wasn't
Facts.
really
So you
out
read my
there.
mind since I had that clip too. I had clip
Yeah.
October talking about it, man. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we can play
He
that. You can play that clip, but I just think that it's fascinating. And I think that, you know, I'm glad that the coaches are actually doing what Shotty asked. Because I
right.
know Shotty asked
Right.
him to do this because they wasn't it's not like, oh, this is these coaches' personality, this is what they do. Like, no, like
Right.
Shotty's like, let's bring the energy. Let's
Right, and
bring the
even when
energy.
I think it was on Dallas Cowboys site, they posted Shotty being mic'd up during that practice, like, and he was, you saw Luna Wells stretching with Osa, you know what I'm saying, you saw the coaches being involved, Shotty going around dapping up the players, you know what I'm saying, you just kind of see like his actions match, what he talks about, he talks about, I'm catching up with the league, I keep an eye on what goes on, I can connect with the young players, da da da, but you actually see it, you see him talking to young players, you see him and not saying he's talking to them on their level. You just see him naturally, interacting with
Right.
these
He
players.
has
You
a
know what I
natural
mean? It's just
relationship with these guys.
it's just why it's just I just love that he's kind of he's walking when he's talking. You feel me? Like he's just like
Right,
I love his
exactly. He's
interaction with the
practicing
team.
what he's preaching. What's up, Davion Wallace? Glad to see you. But I think Shotty is just practicing what he's preaching so far. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Of course, again, it's just minicamp, right? So,
Right.
but you got to start now. What you do now matters. What you do now in this off season, I think that what they say championships won in the off season.
Yep.
Like what you do now is what is going to produce the results in September, October, November, December, January, if you make it that far, February.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this stuff, it does matter. It does matter. I know some of this stuff is new because we just ain't used to seeing this. We ain't used to seeing no coach come in here and having this super high competitive environment and they
Right.
doing team dinners and he doing one-on-one dinners every week and he going to this event and that event and he's
Mm-hmm.
like we ain't seen this. So
Right.
it may seem to some of us kind of corny, if you will, like where's the
Yeah.
football stuff, but it's like this is how we're gonna get closer. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta
Yeah.
be bonded together and you gotta bond by actually knowing a player,
Yeah.
not or knowing a person, not just connecting over X's and O's, but actually knowing about that player, that person, their family, their friends, and all this type of stuff. What's up,
Yeah.
Angie?
And shout out to
Oh,
Andrew. What's up,
glad to
sis?
see you, Angie. It's one of our favorite loyal supporters. Glad to see you, Angie. Really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you said you had that clip of Tober you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's excellent that you bring him up because he mentioned because we were actually going to bring him up, as we kind of segue into Micah Parsons, being present at mandatory minicamp as everyone wants to talk about. It's crazy. Every Dallas Cowboys
Yeah, let's talk
program,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, that starts out. The first question, the very first question that at Schottenheimer's press conference was, "Is Micah Parsons in attendance?" It's crazy. That's
End of
gonna
the
be the
day,
main
we'll
topic on
be
everyone's
judged with
mind.
whether we win or lose. And
I just want to play I actually played it together. I played Tobert's clip about what he says about Micah being present at practice, and then the differences in the practice that were under McCarthy versus the differences in practice under Schottenheimer.
Yeah.
not only on that side of the ball, but of the whole team. And we love
a formation run.
not only on that.
Confused, then that's good for us.
Yeah, man, he's a centerpiece, not only on that side of the ball, but of the whole team. And we love him around here. Obviously, he's a great player, great teammate to have, a hard worker, competitor. And I think he's not even at his prime yet. I think he's still peaking. And that's the great part about having a player like Micah is that, he continues to get better each and every day. And so, we all have his back. We all, every time we see him, he comes in the locker room with a smile. There's no, negativity around the situation. It's more so just, happy to see him, happy to be around. He actually got mad at me the other day for not answering the phone when he did the prank. The good night prank. So I had to deal with that yesterday in the locker room. Because of the energy that we have, the culture that Coach Schotty is building, it starts from the locker room and goes out. It's not the other way. X's and O's will come, but you have to know your brother. You have to know the guy playing beside you, their why, understand why they do it and who they do it for. And honestly, you can push people out of dark holes, bad moments, even through the good moments. You can continue to challenge them to be better in that aspect. And I think you can do that when you truly know the guy next to you and understand why they're doing it. And so that's been a big emphasis this offseason is just, know your brothers, know your why, know yourself, know your strengths and weaknesses. And I think it starts there. And then obviously as you go out on the field, sometimes you may not be, the fastest or
I'm going to skip to the part where he talks about the practices.
Okay.
So Shotty's been big on that, and we're loving the energy, the culture that is being created around here, and we're having fun with it each and every day. We actually have a piece of paper you can write down songs on, and we have a guy, we call him DJ Daniel, so he plays the ones and twos for us while we're at practice. And like I said, the guys love the energy, love the music that we're able to listen to at practice. It brings just a little extra touch to it, and we're even all chasing after the ball, running full speed after whoever catches the ball or running back bust through the hole. We're all chasing, finishing in the end zone with him, and those are two things that are completely different from practice before.
Yeah, so I like number one that Tober even mentioned that. First of all, he mentioned about the music. We talk about, Schottenheimer kind of mentioned in his pressures before about how he'll listen to player input, and now it seems like not just on the field, but also off the field as well. And that's something that kind of gets, something as simple as music, something as simple as the environment that kind of gets the players, just a little bit more involved, keeping them engaged, something, first in the classroom and now on the field, keeping them involved and engaged through the music, getting them excited. And now he just mentioned, kind of echoed just what Schottenheimer was talking about last week about, or I don't know if it was even last week until yesterday, about guys chasing at the ball, running full speed. They're showing that full potential in practice because you do play how you practice. So I just like that, at first it came to the head coach and now it's kind of echoing to the players as well.
Right. And I think that, like you said, it's just something as simple. What's up, Stephen White and 100 Grand? Appreciate y'all joining in the chat with us. But I think that, when it comes to it's just these little changes that I think, because the Cowboys, the things that have made them fail is the little things. Because that's what separates the good teams from the great teams, from the great teams to the championship teams, is the little things, really.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's the little details. It's the togetherness, the bond. It's the he said understanding your teammates why. You know what I'm saying? You can play harder when you understand. You can play harder and play for your brother when you truly understand him, when you truly understand what he's fighting for. You know what I'm saying? Like, that gives you a whole nother reason and incentive, because it's like, once you know something, you can't unknow it. But you don't know what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what you don't know. And I even think that it's interesting because I had no idea that Tolbert and Micah Parsons even talked. So the fact that Micah was going to even, he tried to call him and he didn't pick up. I mean, that means something to me. That means that this locker room really is bonding, that Schotty, now I don't know when Micah and Tolbert bonded, but this is the first time I'm even hearing that they even have a relationship where Micah would call him on the phone.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that happened this year or last year, but all I'm saying is it seems like the players across defense and offense, like, we're not really seeing that segregation that we were seeing before. where it was offense and defense. I've talked about this multiple times under Mike
Yeah.
McCarthy. It seemed like this is the defense, this is the offense. Defense hangs out with defense, offense hangs out with offense. It feels like more people are really bonding, understanding, and getting to know one another. And I think it stems because they look and they see what Schotty is doing. They look and see Schotty going over there and having one-on-one conversations with Mozzie and all of this type of stuff. And, that's something that we really didn't see from the Mike McCarthy regime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not saying that Mike McCarthy didn't have some bonds with defensive players or, Dan Quinn didn't have bonds with some offensive players. But what I am saying is that regardless of, you may have had a bond with a player here and there, but it wasn't a cohesive unit. And so it feels like we're gelling together as a unit. And it feels like the players feel, like you said, we get to write down, like, you may say, oh, who cares? It don't matter what music it is. But it's like, it does matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, when I go and work out, like, I'm listening to music that I want to listen to is going to get you pumped, give you the energy to push through your workout. So music is important. Music drives people. It drives the soul.
Yeah.
If you have some music that you really can't get down with, you ain't going to really be going hard at practice. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
You're gonna
exactly.
be running to the ball, because all this stuff I'm out, they have to run to the ball and run to the end zone. Like, if you got your hype music on, you're going to have the energy to do that. But if you playing some artist that you don't F with like that,
right,
you're not, yes, you're going to do it because coach said do it, but I'm saying the energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, music feels the energy, and it seems like Schotty knows that music feels the energy, and he said he's a music guy. So,
that came up during, I don't know if that was combine or during the draft, and talked about, he was playing the Whitney Houston song. I think Tyler Booker mentioned that kind of resonated with him, after, being selected by the Cowboys. So, I mean, for that to stand out, and just like you mentioned, as in that clip with Topher, you mentioned about knowing your guy, knowing the guy who you're playing with, knowing that in a room full of guys. And we've kind of been seeing that during this offseason. We saw the O-line room, at the hockey game, right? We saw, I think this week, Easy Donovan Ezeraki talked about the D-line going out to a dinner. You know what I'm saying? The wide receivers seem to be getting closer. I think in previous seasons we didn't see CeeDee Lamb, interacting with a lot of the wide receivers, but maybe outside the veteran receivers that they would bring in. But we see him interacting with Pickens, of course. I don't know if it's even still this year. I think maybe a little bit more interaction with Topher, but overall it does seem like he's maybe not specifically wide receivers, but it seems like as a whole he's taking on that leadership role to the younger guys, I think, in general, and just making kind of like an open door policy maybe for him, him along with the other veterans on the team, like, hey, you can ask me questions, if you're not sure about things, you can come to me. I'm saying? I'm more open to, interacting with the team, because in previous years, not saying he was a closed door, but I don't know if maybe he just wasn't ready to embrace that leadership role. And maybe this is just life. This could be life for everybody. Things just kind of happen in sequence as you're ready for them, as they happen. You know what I'm saying? So maybe this is just the right time for CeeDee to be able to step into this leadership role to these younger guys coming in. Even Turpin. You know what I'm saying? Turpin is a veteran, if you will. He's kind of been, through, USFL, played overseas, played, been in this environment. But you can look at him as someone, because even he talks about looking to CeeDee as, a role model. So when he kind of wants to model his game after, as far as being, being able to do different things on the field, wanting to be at the coach's expense, wanting to be able to do anything and everything on the field. And we've seen that with Turpin, when you put the ball in his hands, and when he succeeds, you see a burst from that guy. You just see, you see success when Turpin, does his thing on the field. So I just think that CeeDee is more of a mentor maybe than what he thought before. And I think now he's just kind of seeing like, hey, and Parsons as well, like I said, I think he's stepping into it very well. Like, although people want to talk about how he's not participating in practice, he's sitting on the side. Is it going to have an effect? Like, yes, it's going to have an effect. These guys still embrace him being there. That even again,
exactly.
Donovan Ezeraki spoke about, he was giving tips on the field. You know what I'm saying? Other guys on the field, Tyler Booker. You know what I'm saying? Tyler Booker talked to Parsons the day he was drafted, literally right after he was drafted.
Right,
so it's not
right.
like,
Exactly.
I'm sure it's not just me, but it's just me. I feel like at this point in time in June, months after the offseason, as we're months into the offseason, I'm not sure why it's still a question as to how can Micah have an impact on the team? How can he have communication with the head coach when we're constantly hearing about the communication, his presence, whether or not we see it, whether or not the media sees it? Micah is clearly there having an impact on veterans, on young folks alike, the coaching staff. Jerry Jones, he had a lengthy conversation with him, and even he said, "Hey man, it wasn't even about the contract. Like, hey, we talk. There's much more. I think people want to talk about the money, but I think this is more important time as far as development. Becoming even more of a pro for Micah Parsons. I think some fans, I know not all Cowboys fans, saying, but I think for some fans it's so surface levels that, oh, this money, this player, is he worth this? But no, I think this is a transitional point for not just for the organization, but some of these players, some of these guys are entering that next step, getting that second contract, in their career. Some guys don't make it to that next contract, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just, I think Schotty is the perfect coach for this team to have, for almost most of these players on this team right now, because even just the relationship aspect of it, he's talked about Dak entering an aspect of his life, having a family, a newborn. So, he connected Dak that way, but Micah can connect to Schotty because, hey, he didn't have that relationship with McCarthy, but Schottenheimer has a really good open door policy with all these players. So I just think that Micah feels more comfortable making that late night call. And that I'm not sure we would have seen that with McCarthy. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that we're seeing that comfortability between these players and their head coach. And I just like that, especially with Micah. Like I said, I'm just not sure why the questions are still ringing around about his impact on the team.
Yeah, anybody questioning Micah's impact or his leadership at this point is a clown. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's foolish. It's dumb, it's unfounded. Like, Micah has done everything, and I think CD too. Like, this is important. Like, seeing CD be around his guys, and really like building that relationship, because you would see CD, but then you wouldn't. You would see the wide receivers hanging out, but you don't see CD. It's like, why isn't CD there? And it's like, it's important. It's important for CD to be bonded with his wide receivers as a leader of their room. So I'm glad that he's assuming that role, and I'm glad that he's here. He's here in the building, because you can't really lead from afar. You can't really build that relationship from afar. I'm glad that Micah is here, because you can't lead from afar. Even, in the thumbnail, Micah was helping run drills today. He did individual drills, and then he was helping the coaches run the drills or whatever. So it's like, this is important. Right. Everything that Micah is doing is 100% important. Everything that CD is doing is 100% important, because it's important for these guys to step up. You know what I'm saying? For so long, and one thing that I just really value under Schotty is, for so long, this team has just been able to hide behind. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This team has done nothing but hide behind Dak Prescott since he stepped on the field in 2016.
Right.
I really urge y'all, go back and listen to them interviews in 2023 before playoffs, when they were asking, why y'all think y'all gonna go deep and all this stuff. They were literally saying Dak.
Right.
That should never be your answer. We're gonna win because this other player. No. It should be, we're gonna win because we're gonna do our jobs, and everybody else is gonna do their jobs. But you see, when they went in there with that dumbass mindset, then you see what happened. Mm-hmm. And Dak has been having to take the bullets for so long, and I'm glad that Schotty is doing his best to take this pressure off of Dak. Where it's like, Dak is a piece of the puzzle, but he's not the puzzle. Like, if we're going to change the culture, we're going to change everything. Like, it's not Dak's job. It's our job. First of all, it's my job as the head coach. Then the other coaches, and then the players will buy in and then help us implement it. But this is not the Dak Prescott show, and I'm so glad. Like, I'm relieved. Like, people may feel like Schotty's comments, he likes Joe Milton better. I'm like, I don't think it's that. I think what Schotty's trying to do is stop. He needs to decenter. Dak has just been the center of everything since 2016. That's why we can't win shit. Mm-hmm. Like, when you look at other rosters, like, yes, Mahomes is a quarterback. Yes, Lamar Jackson, but look at the team. There's other players here. Other players have to step up. And so I'm glad that Schotty is doing the work to build relationships with his other players and really establish a foundation, because it doesn't matter if Dak throws 100 balls it perfectly, but nobody catches him. Mm-hmm. And, he said yesterday, they were like, is there anything that, you expect Dak to do and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, win football games. That's it. And that's what it really comes down to. Like, it's not about Dak being perfect and he's got to have this QB rating and he's got to have this, because we done seen that. We done seen Dak play at an MVP level, and what happened? And what happened? First round exit, because other people weren't doing their jobs. So maybe we can finally get a coach that holds everybody accountable and has everybody locked and ready to win football games. Because I just feel like we have not had that in the past. And so I'm really glad that we have a coach now where he's holding everybody accountable. Nobody is higher than the other person. Everybody is on the same playing field. And I think that's how it should be across the board. Like, everybody should feel like they're equal with Schotty. Nobody should feel like, oh, that's, Schotty favors this. Because when players start knowing that a coach has a favorite, then they don't play as hard. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, well, he don't like me anyway. Even if you look at somebody like Joe Milton, Schotty has to show love and mentor Joe Milton just like he showed love and he mentors Dak. Because if he don't, if God forbid something happens to Dak this season and it's time for Joe Milton is QB2, Joe Milton might be out there effing up because he feel like he didn't even want me. He's Dak's guy. Like, no, if this is really about the team, it's really about the Cowboys, and we've got to make it about the team and stop making it about a player. So I like it. I love what Schotty is doing.
Me too. And I also like, to your point about Joe Milton, Schotty asked a great question, I believe, by Todd Archer, and he mentioned, do you want Joe Milton to play like Dak Prescott? And he said, well, he doesn't necessarily require him to be similar, but he doesn't want it to be package by package with each player. He just kind of wants guys to be comfortable. Even when you do bring in the Joe Milton, you want them to be comfortable. And I like that, shout out to Miss Aisha Morrison. She brought up a great point on her and Skywalker show about upgrading at the quarterback 2 position, because yes, we did have Cooper Rush, and it was great to have that comfortability, having a vet who knows what he's doing, calm, cool, collected, coming in the games. We know he beat the Vikings. He had, I forget his record, I'm sorry, but it's just, he could beat some winning teams, but we didn't have that full confidence in, because he did have sometimes weak arm strength. He couldn't get the ball down the field. It was short passes here, short passes there, and somehow, some way the game plan was different when he was in with Mike McCarthy. So it's just like we still didn't really necessarily know what we were going to get. So it's just like when you upgrade the quarterback 2 position, she made the point about you're also elevating the players around the quarterback 2, so that when they do play with Dak, they do have a better sense of, the game plan, that you don't necessarily have to tweak everything. You don't have to change, you don't have to flip everything on his head because you're changing the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and that also kind of gives Milton a little bit more freedom, not necessarily to do whatever he wants, but allow him to be the type of player that he is. So that way, when he does come in, he can elevate the players on his own terms, if you will, and then also play his game, so that way you're not putting that much pressure on him too. So number one, you're getting those players on the second and possibly third teams, depending on how the roster kind of, and of course before the season starts. But if those players who may be on the practice squad, who, like you said, and not going to, if anything happens to not just Dak, but any of the starters, you know what I'm saying? You can have a player who can come in who did, play some snaps with Joe Milton, who maybe they didn't get enough snaps with Dak, but they do have the snaps with the quarterback who can do some things that are maybe similar as far as arm strength, quickness, scrambling out the pocket, but you also have some things that Joe Milton can still do that maybe Dak can do. So you do have some elevation there. So it's just like, I like that Schottenheimer's just kind of not leaving everything open-ended, but it's just like he's allowing the players to be who they are and then finding ways to make that work for the team instead of, the other way around, trying to make everything fit, and making a player fit into your circle.
Your skill, exactly. Every player has to play according to their strengths, and I think every player, when it comes to Joe Milton, obviously we know that I don't really think Joe Milton's that athletic. I think people are kind of hyping. I think Trey Lance was way more athletic than Joe Milton. But Joe Milton he's more athletic. He's younger. You know what I'm saying? So he he's more athletic. But again, I think Trey Lance was way more athletic than Joe Milton. Trey Lance was fast as hell. I was like, Trey Lance should probably be hybrid. What's his name over there?
Hurts.
Not Hurts. The guy from New Orleans that played TE, used to be a quarterback.
Oh, Taysom Hill.
Yeah. Everybody thought that was an insult, but I'm like, Taysom Hill is a real weapon and gadget.
Yeah, no,
I'm happy for Trey Lance because now he's got a chance to back up Justin Herbert. But
yeah,
I mean, Joe Milton, everybody knows that his thing is his arm strength. You know, his arm strength is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows that. And so he does add that. You know, he does have, I think he has a stronger arm. I think Joe Milton probably has an arm not on Josh Allen or Mahomes level, but maybe like a tier or two below, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere in the Justin Herbert arm strength. Yeah. So it's like, we know he's got that arm strength and stuff like that. I think with Joe Milton, he's developing, you know what I'm saying? Because we know what as a quarterback, the best quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, he had no strong arm. So it's really not about how physically gifted. Quarterback is a mental game. I know the NFL is trying to turn quarterbacks and the running backs and all of this type of stuff, but I think the NFL is eventually going to go back because a lot of people are catching on, like, that these quarterbacks, they athletic as hell. They can run, they fast, you know, they got this, but it's like when it comes to the mental side of it, that's where they're lacking. And so that's where the challenge is with Joe Milton is all about. But I'm glad that he's out there looking good. I think he's going to look great in Schotty's system because I think Schotty's going to make everything simpler and easier.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to have guys going on the move. He's going to have crossing routes, you know, and different things like that, and marry the run game with the pass game, so people don't even know it's a pass. Like, I fully expect Joe Milton preseason. He's gonna look amazing. I just have a feeling that he's gonna look great. He's not gonna really be throwing picks because we're gonna go out there and look fat. We're gonna go out there and be balanced. Schotty's not gonna go out there like Mike McCarthy and throw the ball up 50 times.
Right.
Like he did with Trey Lance. Like, remember when Dak had real Greer looking? So I fully expect Joe Milton in preseason. He gonna look real good. And I already know the Dak haters is gonna be, Dak better watch his back. He better not get hurt. You know what I'm saying? I already know people are gearing up. People are already selling Joe Milton like he's the best thing. But I don't care about that because one thing I know about my quarterback, as a super fan of Dak Prescott, is he thrives under pressure. Every single job that he's had, he's earned it, and he's taken the job. And anytime he has pressure, that's when he really performs better. So great. Schotty said it. He said, how can Dak Prescott get better? Joe Milton. Because now I know I don't have noodle arm Cooper Rush behind him. I have Joe Milton. He's 6'6". He's got a strong arm. So, like, you think Dak don't know that? You think Dak don't know that Joe Milton got a strong arm and he's 6'6" and he's this and that, and that people want him gone? Of course, Dak knows that. People been wanting him gone since he stepped on the field in 2016. But it's all about your mindset. You know, you bring up somebody like Brady. Brady wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't any of that. But he was still the best, and he won games because he just worked harder than everybody else, really. And so, you know, it's just all about putting in that effort and doing the best as you can. And, you know, I think that all the quarterbacks under Schotty, I do expect to look good because I think Schotty's going to de-center the quarterbacks. Because, see, in Mike McCarthy's system, the quarterbacks were the center. Yeah. Mike McCarthy always said that, you know, this is about the quarterback, about his feet. And Stephen White, I like Cooper Rush. People hated on Cooper Rush, but I was like, Cooper Rush is a winner. I don't give a fuck what you say. He's a winner. And these other quarterbacks that got better arms and all of this stuff and younger than him, they can't win games. So you can say whatever you want about Cooper Rush, but he was probably the quickest quarterback off the market. And he went straight to a contender because they know who Cooper Rush is. Does he have the strongest arm? No. But he knows the system. He's smart. he can play within the system, and he can make sure not to lose games. So I don't have no problem with Cooper Rush, but I think anyway. That's what I was saying. Schotty's going to decenter the quarterbacks, where the quarterbacks are going to be asked to operate within this system, but this is not going to be the Dak show. It's not going to be the Joe Milton show. It's not going to be the Will Greer show. It's going to be the Schotty show, and he is going to have these quarterbacks operate in this system where their lives are going to be a lot easier. So you're going to, I expect an uptick from all the quarterbacks because you're not having to do all that was required under Mike McCarthy's system. The throws will be easier, all of that type of stuff. I think will be easier in a Schotty system.
Yeah, and you also have the coaching staff to kind of back it up too. Like you mentioned last year with the O-line coach, you know what I'm saying, the offensive coordinator. Now I think, I know Schotty was offensive coordinator, but I believe, Adams, Clayton Adams coming from the Cardinals is an upgrade. And I think the things that we've seen, what he's done with the offensive line from last season, I think, an upgrade, like I mentioned, the offensive line, the running back coach as well, a guy who coached Alvin Kamara, what I'm saying, a guy who's, I think, over there, I believe with the Chargers as well with Dobbins. So I think Derek Foster, I believe is his name. So just, I think upgrading at these certain positions, even the linebacker coach, what I'm saying, former relationship with some of these players, former relationship with Damone Clark, I believe, Borgonzi, I believe is his name, Dave Borgonzi, who came from the Bears, working alongside Eberflus. I'm saying, I think some of these relationships will really go a long way with these players, I think seeing the difference between how they learn with one regime by learning with the next regime that's coming in and guys that actually specialize in these positions. I think when you've seen the elevation in the players in their game and how they're able to learn, not just their game, but how they're learning and them actually complimenting how they're learning, complimenting the coaches that they love being coached this way. I think when you hear that kind of feedback from the players, I think it helps to kind of fertilize that relationship, if you will. When you hear the feedback, the coaches know to give more of that. I'm saying? Maybe in previous regimes, the coaches were just, listen. Okay, now go do it. Go do what I just taught you. And the players are like, okay. We don't have a vet to go to, as far as linebackers, even DTs, we don't have a vet to turn to, because you guys were going free agency. So let's talk amongst each other and try to figure this out, while Demo was out, while, back then Leighton Vander Esch was out. So I'm saying these guys kind of had to learn as they go, but now you brought in veteran players, you brought in, if you will, veteran coaches, yes, some of them are coming from the college level, but they're experts at their position. So I think just, these, like you said earlier, just to kind of close out, we kind of talked about the changes that Schottenheimer's kind of going, he's under McCarthy, but there's some of these small, slight changes can kind of be the keys to success for this team. What I'm saying? The changes in practices, some of the slight changes in schematically, so yeah, the plays, would work, but you gotta, I think, one of the elements of his philosophy, attacking with the playmakers, to me, that's a huge difference in McCarthy's philosophy vice Schottenheimer's philosophy, if you will, because
right. Let's go over like Schotty's philosophy, because I think that was supposed to be the
the main. Yeah, I know.
The main topic.
I think we'll start with that. I think we started the OTAs. I'll go ahead and just play the quick clip that Schottenheimer kind of speaks about, kind of talks about his philosophy, and then we'll kind of just give our thoughts, and then that's we'll kind of close out the show. And before we do this, guys, make sure you like the
yes,
videos.
Please
guys
like the video. Please like
yes,
the video.
Please.
Thank you, guys. Clebo came in. Really appreciate you.
Yes.
Rico, yes. Angry Cowboys fans. I don't know if you guys know he's a pretty big content creator now for the Dallas Cowboys. He did lose his brother, so prayers up for Angry. I sent him a personal message and stuff like that. But yeah, you guys be praying for him, because I think he was very, very close to his big brother. So
yeah,
yeah,
and they were like twins. I saw the picture you posted today.
Oh yeah, they look exactly alike. So and probably he's hurting. So y'all please pray for him and his family as they're going through this time.
Yeah. I think I was on his live this morning. He said he left this morning to go to the airport, I think around 11. So hopefully he's down there. Hopefully safe travels. Hopefully he made it there safe. And hopefully, like you mentioned, sis, his family's doing okay. Because like you met, I think with this past week, he actually reached, he said he was able to reach the 10,000 mark of subscribers, before his brother was able to, to be able to transition home. So, here's to his family. And I really hope that they're doing well. Make sure you guys show support to his family, and make sure, if you guys have it, I think he said he uses his Twitter more than YouTube. So make sure you guys just send your prayers out to him.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and play this clip and then close out the show.
End of the day, we're going to be judged with whether we win or lose. And the best way to win in this league is to, 1, take care of the football. 2, to have an incredible set of offensive and defensive linemen to control the game, whether you run it, throw it. People want to talk about numbers. Do you throw it 40 times? Do you run it 40 times? Well, it doesn't really matter. You just have to own the line of scrimmage. And then we have some really good pieces. And so we have to move those pieces around and make them hard to find. And that's when you say attack with your playmakers doing that. And then we're going to be multiple. Because I think being multiple is hard. This is the best of the best in the NFL, and there's incredible coaches, incredible players, and so if we can make them have any indecision at all about what's potentially coming as a blitz on defense or as a formation run, if we have any advantage because they're not sure and they're confused, then that's good for us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so he identified, he said, we're going to be multiple. We're going to
attack with our playmakers.
And I think he overall said that his philosophy, he's been saying it, but the overall philosophy is compete every day.
Yeah.
Compete every day. And so I think that, one, when he's talking about like attack, we didn't have a very attack type of offense with Mike McCarthy. We didn't have an attack offense with Kellen Moore, because we know Kellen Moore was take what the defense gives you.
Right.
Mike McCarthy was more, short, quick passes. Basically, he wanted to run. Even though we ended up giving Dak the keys and the offense exploded in 2023, we can see that in 2024 it went back to death by 1,000 cuts type of offense, because that's just how Mike McCarthy liked to run it, and we didn't really have a running back that he believed in. So he really honed down these quick short passes and curl routes. And I mean, it's exhausting. You go try to evaluate the receivers from last year. I mean, it's really hard to evaluate them because 9 times out of 10 they are running a curl route, which is very hard to evaluate a wide receiver on just running a curl route. You know what I'm saying? So now you see with Schotty, based off of the reports, they're saying you're seeing a lot more motion. You're seeing a lot more crossing routes. You're seeing a lot of confusion. Is this a run? Is this a pass? What's going on? And I'm thankful, because it's like, under the Mike McCarthy era, when we would use motion, offense is flowing great, we look great. When we go back to a static-ass offense looks terrible. We can't move the ball. So I'm really glad to see that. And so we definitely are going to be attacking matchups and attacking downfield, but that's more of what we talked about. Mike McCarthy was a West Coast system, which is more horizontal routes. Schotty comes from a more air Coryell system, where it's about launching the ball downfield. It's not really about completion so much. It's about trying to get these big explosive plays from setting it up by running the ball. So, we're going to be attacking more downfield, but also in a multiple offense. You know what I'm saying? When he says multiple, he's talking about personnel. There's 12 personnel, 13, 22 personnel, 11 personnel. So he's saying that which they have been trying, even under Mike McCarthy, to be this multiple offense, but it just seemed like it wasn't quite at all times flowing.
Yeah.
Right. And
so a lot of young players too, trying to acquire themselves to the game, trying to grow to the game.
It's a lot. It is a lot. Because he said we're running it because it's hard. So it is a lot, because it's a lot. A lot of teams just say this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna line up. We're gonna do this. But he's like, we don't want to be predictable at all. Right. So that means that we have to switch up our personnel, and we're replacing. And this play may look like this, but it's really this play, and all this type of stuff. Because he's like, we're really trying to confuse the defense. So that's another what he's talking about offensively. His philosophy. Multiple, so we're going to see a lot of different sets, a lot of different types of personnel and stuff on the field. But I think that's the best way to go in the NFL, because any good team, like any great defense, they're going to figure out how to stop you if you're one-dimensional. Like, you can be a great running team, but what happens when you run into a team that can stop the run?
Right.
It happened to us. It happened to us in 2018, where we were a great running team. Zeke was leading the NFL in rushing, and we ran, and he got over 100 yards versus Seattle, and then we ran into the Rams, and we Zeke squeezed out 40 yards.
Yeah.
So what happens? You know what I'm saying? What happens in the Super Bowl this year? Philly ran their way to the Super Bowl, but Spagnuolo was like, "Y'all not running today," and so they had to make sure, But shout out to Howie, shout out to Sirianni and all of them. They knew, okay, well, if they do this, which we think they're going to do, then these are our counter moves.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry to cut you off. That's an excellent point, because just like Schotty mentioned with, there's expert coaching staff in these leagues. So in previous years when we were, and granted, also the schedules are kind of getting harder year to year. So you have these advanced coaches, who are learning as time goes on. So we may have faced those, not so good teams before, like throughout the Panthers, the Jets, the Giants. We may have had some of those teams to kind of beat up on. When you go up against those elite teams, of course, teams like in our division now, Washington has kind of grown, Philly, of course, but we have the Bills that we faced in previous season. The Chiefs are kind of getting more into our schedule now. So when we face those top tier teams, you can't come at them with a level 2 or 3 offense, when they come in with a level 10, you feel me? So it's just like, you have to be able to adjust your game. And I like that, just like you mentioned, sis, when you go up against these expert coaches and these coaching staff, that's why I mentioned earlier that I like that we kind of upgrade our coaching staff, because now we kind of have another, another ace in the hole, right? Another ace in our back pocket. Okay, we may not have some, all the talent, all these positions, but we have the coaching staff that maybe can kind of elevate some of these players, even some of these young players who have, maybe some of these young players aren't fully developed. Like even as a Rocket today, he admitted, okay, I may not have done anything yet in the league, but I want to be able to grow, and I'll be able to come out in my rookie season saying that I've somehow contributed to the team. So they're kind of finding ways to kind of get these guys involved, but getting them involved in ways that they kind of specialize in, that they're good in, so that way multiple guys can contribute, so that way everybody can just kind of be on the same level. Also, the team can also succeed with multiple guys contributing. So I just like that. I just like the feeling that the confidence that the coaching staff will instill in the players, and then vice versa. That the coaching staff will instill the confidence in the players, and the players will play harder because they want to gain the trust of the coaching staff. So I think that was just just with the organization hopefully seeing more success, because I think it's all starting with Schotty just kind of watering that seed of relationships, just kind of ingraining in everybody, because you're just that's kind of like the buzzword of the offseason, not just culture, but relationships. You know what I'm saying? These guys really getting closer with each other.
Absolutely. And I think, just to segue from Schotty's philosophy, because I think Rico did have a question about Trayvon Diggs, and I did have him on the thumbnail because we didn't really talk about him. But yeah, Diggs is in the building. So far, he's on track. From what I hear, like, he is on track. They don't tell us a timeline, but they're saying that according to their timeline, he's on track. He's right where he's supposed to be. Of course, he's not participating or anything because he's still rehabbing. But he's here in the building, ready to interact. And I read a tweet that Patrick Nosey Walker put out about Micah versus Jay at the ping pong table, and Micah ended up winning, and him and Trayvon was acting crazy, talking about 7-Eleven, all that stuff. So he's definitely in the building, definitely being here and bonding with his guys. And I think that, they did talk to Diggs today. He talked about he expects to be ready by week 1. Not happening. But, that's his goal. His goal is to be ready by week 1. Not happening. I know he wishes that it would happen. And I know he probably will be like, yeah, I can get out there, but he'll know. I think that the best thing, we already rushed you back once, Diggs. We ain't gonna do it again.
Thanks.
So it's like, I think we're not expecting to see Diggs till November, in my opinion. He may come back a little bit sooner, but I would say earliest should be end of October.
Yeah.
Glad you made it home, Stephen White. He said give him his he lost off the team. Yeah, we were supposed to talk a little bit about the competition, and we can kind of end with that, just some standouts. Yeah, Elam. Yeah. I'm hearing his name every single OTA every single DCAP note. I'm hearing his name. Of course, we haven't even put the pads on and stuff like that. But I mean, he's standing out when at the time where the DBs have a disadvantage
Facts.
because they
Right.
can't attack the ball and stuff. So he's standing out consistently. Izzy came out and said he been locking shit up. He went off on Tommy Yarnish because Tommy Yarnish posted it and he was like, he got by Pickens on a comeback route. It was nasty and all this type of stuff. And Izzy Izzy was like, tell the truth because I had him locked up the previous time. So don't sit there and try to act like I'm just after getting my ass beat. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But I appreciate Izzy saying that because it's like, well, you got to, because these reporters out here, bro, they don't give a damn about Izzy Muhammad.
Right.
So they're not going, there's other players that they're more interested in. Right. So they're not really.
Just like you said, there's certain players that we hear about all the time with other players. I mean, it's been years. And then we even heard from Izzy himself. So like you said, for him to be able to tweet out and say like, "Hey man, like this is what I'm doing," like, and
right,
like we talked about earlier, Schotty, these guys getting more opportunities. Now we're actually being able to see what these guys can distribute. It's very exciting. I love to hear it.
Yeah, I love to hear it. I think he's standing out. I think. We already talked about the tight ends, but Pickens and stuff like that. But I think as well as
I think Miles. I think Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders. Yeah, Miles Sanders allegedly has been saying it. I ain't heard shit about Javonte Williams. Haven't heard shit about Deuce or Blue or Phil Mama. So I don't know what they have not said anything about the running backs. But I have heard that Miles Sanders seems to be standing out. I think today he just had another touchdown, a passing touchdown from Dak. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting because I'm not gonna lie. Miles Sanders' film from last year was horrible. He looked terrible. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe he worked on it. Maybe he put in serious work in the offseason. We know that, with Philly, he was a 1,000-yard back, and then he just got a payday in Carolina. It's just been awful. But who knows? Maybe he's back. So we got to continue to monitor the running backs and really see how they're doing.
Yeah. I'm looking at Tyler's tweets now. There's also he tweeted out that Ron Bland actually seemed to work more on the outside today than the other workouts. Had he been able to fully close on the pass, he would have broke up a Prescott pass to Pickens. And he also tweeted Kamate Turpin with a run out of the backfield like he did last year. And I'm always happy to hear that them using Turpin. I mean that's becoming more. I mean him being more involved in the offense is definitely something I'm more excited about. I love that he's getting opportunity to showcase what MVP, and I think at the time USFL, I'm saying as far as a wide receiver. So I'm definitely happy that he's getting more run on the offense.
Absolutely. And I think someone else that they've talked about, like the linebacker, I'm hearing conflicting reports on who this middle linebacker is going to be because I'm hearing Schotty is like, when he spoke about Murray, he's over the moon about him. And people keep saying that Sanborn is who seeming like he may be the starter. And I'm like, I'm just not really with that. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I don't like Sanborn. I don't think that he has these instincts.
Right.
But Sanborn is athletically, that is a base defense middle linebacker. And you're not really playing base defense that much.
Right.
Here in the modern NFL anymore. So I don't know about that. I'd have to see how that's shaking out. Because I'm hearing, I know people love him, but I'm like, and I don't know if he's the answer for middle linebacker in the modern NFL. Like for the base package, yes, but in the nickel package, I don't know about that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that shakes out. But and I have heard that there's been a heavy rotation. Izzy's getting more burn on the outside. It's been like Deron, Izzy, and Elam on the outside, and then they've been playing Wanye and Keeman Hall is who they've been letting them play in the slot.
Okay.
Wanye and Keeman Hall. So it's going to be interesting to see. That's why cornerback, I'm like, we may not really need a cornerback. We may, because I just feel like it's kind of, like these young cornerbacks are kind of stepping up. You know what I'm saying? I haven't heard anything about seatbelt or what we call him now, car seat. I haven't heard nothing about him.
Star.
That's what they be calling him, car seat, baby car seat or something.
Yo, oh my gosh. When you already got a bad nickname in the second season, bro, like, I mean, and I know he's going through injury, but I mean, there were some plays last season where he was, I mean, I know he was in the
He was good.
season,
I think he kind of, they had to bench him because his confidence was just shot.
Yeah, man.
So we'll see how
car seat, though. They wrong.
Yeah, they're talking about he's car seat, baby car seat. But here's
another, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Mingo's another name I've been hearing a lot recently.
Oh, yeah, Mingo. Yeah. So
that'll be interesting to see. I know Pickens is going to be, of course, wide receiver
Pickens, but Mingo and Tolbert, because I haven't heard nothing from Tolbert. I haven't heard nothing about Tolbert. So Mingo and Tolbert is the battle to watch, really, for the wide receiver 3.
No, I'm gonna be honest with you, sis. Like, honestly, I feel like Tolbert feels like he has the wide receiver 3 sewn up. Like, I know, I feel like the same. Like, I feel like he knows that he has.
I think he does too.
But he feels like he had it sewn up. You know what I'm saying? Because from the moment that they brought in Pickens, he's like, yeah, well, if you got all 3 of us out there, I feel like all 3 of us are unstoppable. Or whoever else is out there. And then even today on his when he was talking to Good Morning Football, he was like, yeah, well, you bring in Pickens and it opens things up for me and the rest of the room and even CD. And I'm like, hold up, Tolbert. I rocks with you, Tolbert, but you got to put CD first. CD is first. You feel me? And then it's you and everybody else. Don't be like, oh yeah, CD too. Like, I feel like Tolbert, and I like the confidence. Cause I know he's been here for a while, and I know he's earned it. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, you still competing. You know what I'm saying? It'd be one thing if you had a, you know what I'm saying? If you were Pickens, if you had a good space between you and the rest of the room. But I'm sorry, bro, but you're still competing with Mingo and Brooks and Ford.
But if he wants to be confident, like he got the job sold up, okay. We'll see, Tolbert. That's all I would say with him. We'll see, because we're not hearing your name. We're not hearing your name at all. Doesn't mean you're not doing good. It's just like you're not having a day standing. But honestly, that ain't true, because Izzy said he had people locked up, and yet the reports were the DBs were getting cooked all day.
Right.
So. Sometimes you're just not getting reported on because people don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think that with Tolbert, obviously, your route running was horrible, dog. So hopefully it's better this year. You know what I'm saying? But your route running last year was subpar. I appreciate the production, but the route running needed to get better. Yeah. But we can take a look at these notes and then get out of here.
Yeah. And we talked about Michael Parsons being there, and he also mentions about Peyton Turner and Marshawn Nealon rotating with the ones at defensive end. And that's something even today, I think this week with Ezra Rocco's interview, he spoke about that, the coaches giving them multiple chances to go on, go in the coverage, being there, either standing up, I'm saying? He mentioned about Coach Aaron Whitecott mentioning that he wants his defensive ends being really athletic on the field. So, I mean, I think, last year in Zimmer's scheme, it was about the linebackers, right? About the second level, being able to maintain those blocks. About the front four, maintain, taking up blocks so that way the second level can work. I love hearing just that Whitecott, also puts out his philosophy about, hey, I want the defensive ends to be able to, kind of just be able to play contain and be able to, contain these running backs, and even, maybe some plays on the backfield. Sometimes if the play can get to the second level, it can be too late by then. So I just like that, kind of instilling hey, I want these defensive ends, being able to take control of the line. I think that'll put a little, and especially with the depth that we have going into this season, I think it'll be better for our room, because I think these guys will know going into the season, knowing what they know with the coach. And I think it'll give them a little bit more confidence to play, what I'm saying? Like also we're talking about, what I'm saying? I was looking at plays last year, and I feel like in these places I could have done this. So I think with more of a, open kind of an open book, a blank slate for some of these guys coming in and say, hey, I want you guys to do this, and, giving those guys those confidence. And I think hopefully we'll be able to see it translate on the field.
Absolutely. I agree with that. But it looks like highlight of the day came from 22-yard TD from Jake Ferguson on a seam route in a tight window. One of the 2 TD grabs. It looked like Ferguson had him a day. That report, Bobby Belt went out. And all these reporters, I feel like they intentionally going at Bobby Belt, because he said that Jake Ferguson wasn't with the ones yesterday. So everybody's like, he was with the ones. It's like, okay, goddamn. Like, we know y'all love Jake Ferguson. We know y'all love him. Like, y'all love Jake Ferguson down. Because y'all wanted to be clear today. He had a good day. He caught all these balls and he was with the ones. It's like, okay, all right, guys, we got it. looks like Mingo, good corner route from Milton, an on the run, off script throw from Milton, and then one from Real Greer.
Mm-hmm.
Then Ezeraku, which he's allegedly been standing out a lot, which we knew he would, because I mean he's just coming with pass rush tools that a typical rookie does not have. So it's above just I'm beating you with speed or I'm going to power through you or whatever. So he's definitely standing out, which I expected him to stand out. Healthy dose of action for Deuce Vaughn with the twos today. Donovan Wilson and Sam Williams were off the field. Those two along with Kalen Carson. Okay, so Kalen, that's why you haven't heard nothing from Kalen Carson. He haven't even been practicing. Yeah. So that's why you didn't hear nothing from him. Tyler Booker remains the only rookie running with the ones, which that's expected. Kavontae Turpin remains an option at the backfield. He saw multiple snaps at RB today and took a carry outside left. Love to see that. I think that's, Turpin, he is a gadget player, so you can use him in many different ways.
Yeah.
And we had success using him out the backfield. So I'm glad that Brian is keeping that up. I feel like there's no need to get rid of that. Nathan Thomas worked with the twos at left tackle. That's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Bad Shepley, Hoffman, and Dinergy filled out the second team O-line for the most part.
I'm interested about Hoffman running with them. And it's almost like, for me, Hoffman's kind of like the standout on that line. Like,
yeah, Bad Shipley, Hoffman, and Adeniji. That's interesting. Bad Shipley, Hoffman. Okay, so he was saying it was Thomas, then Bad Shipley, Hoffman, and Adeniji as a second team. Okay. All right. He didn't say how they did, but I mean, they can't really do much. They can't do much. This is Minicamp. They can't do no contact or nothing. So that's interesting because, the last coaching staff said Nate was a guard. So them playing him at tackle, maybe they feel like he could play both. So that's an interesting nugget. Have to keep that in mind.
So with that, do you think that Awesome is getting some rotation with the ones, or Awesome Richards, I mean? Because he was supposed to be at tackle, right?
Yeah, he was supposed to be the starting, basically the backup left tackle. So I'm not really too sure what was going on. I guess today they was just experimenting.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why Awesome wouldn't be starting in the starting second team lineup. So yeah, that's interesting. Wow. Also, there were some other notes. Everybody talked about Jake Ferguson. There were some other notes about like Joe Milton, which he did those good throws and stuff today, but they were also saying his processing was a bit slow. And we know that that's what you just said, like he's growing. He has the physical tools, but football is cerebral. I mean, we've seen starting quarterbacks that just, their cerebral's not that great, Josh Allen. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we've seen that where like you can, or you just don't have a clutch gene in your body, Justin Herbert. So, but shout out to all the athletic, big, strong arm quarterbacks.
Right.
Wish you guys all the best in the world. You know what I'm saying? So, but quarterback is a mental game. I think it always will be, and I think the quarterbacks with the best mental will always be better than the athletic quarterbacks. Now, if you're athletic and you got the mentals, then that's amazing. Yeah. But I'm like Lamar Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Like Lamar Jackson really elevated, because before he was looking like a running back. You know what I'm saying? But he really elevated himself, and now I do consider Lamar for sure top 5. Yeah. Just because I've seen him do it now. I've had 40 touchdowns, 4 picks. 40 passing touchdowns. Not I'm running the ball all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, once you show me that, then it's like, I got to shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right. Yeah. So, but anyway, I think we gave y'all a long show. We gave y'all an hour and 30 minutes, but we really appreciate all of y'all being in the chat with us.
Yeah.
Stephen White, Rico, Angie was in here, 100 grand. Chris Johnson, Swain, Clebo. Glad to see you, Clebo. Dak owns Filthy. So really glad to see everybody. Lee Harrison, Kelvin,
Yeah.
John Jones. So really glad to Lou was in here earlier. So really glad to and Davion Wallace. So we
Yeah.
really appreciate everybody. Y'all know before we leave out, please like the video. Please like the video. Please share the content on both of our channels, and please subscribe if y'all haven't. My YouTube is StarGator Sports, and Mickey is Cravin Cowboys without the G. We appreciate y'all. Mickey,
Yes.
I don't
Thank
know
you,
if you have
everybody.
anything to say.
Yes, no, you really pretty much covered everything, Star. Really appreciate everybody joining us. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your time, sis. Hopefully we see you guys next week. Please tune in. You know what I'm saying? We may or may not have a surprise for you all, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Make sure you guys tune
So yeah,
in. Keep it guys.
next is it next week?
Yeah, it should be next week.
Sometime soon. Just tune
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Make sure you guys keep your notifications on. Make sure you guys just keep following us. Continue to show support for our show. And like I said, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for your time, sis. And we will get you guys next time we hop on here. Thank you guys. Appreciate you
Appreciate
guys.
you guys so much.